Alright, today is the 1st of September, so it's time for another Aquaponics update. Over the last month, it's been extremely hot around here in Virginia. It's been like 95 to 100 degrees every day with like 105, 110 heat index Fahrenheit. All the cucumbers and tomatoes and squash I planted have been doing very well all the way up till now. I'm getting squash vine borers. Actually came out here. Well, I assume that's what they are. I'm still new to gardening. I even found a caterpillar's head sticking out of the middle of the vine here. I picked it out and fed it to the fish. It's only on this one vine though, so I don't know which vine that is. I need to figure that out. It looks like taking the wall off of the greenhouse has been extremely helpful, like as far as ventilation in there is just, it's helping everything to start busting out and grow. So that was actually one of the main things that was holding it back. It wasn't just the high pH my system seems to be maintaining. I even starting to get some cucumbers on the vine here. Actually, that one looks like it needs to be picked. The bell peppers are actually starting to grow in there pretty good. They're starting to fall over with bell peppers. There's a few in there. Can't see them in here, but there's a couple laying on the gravel down in there. Let's see here. Everything's pretty much taken back off now. My tomatoes have been doing great. Every time it makes a tomato though, something large and keeps coming in here and picking them while they're green. There's only a few tomatoes like here and there on the tomato plants. And they're starting to flower out. I quit picking the armpits off. I'm just letting them bush out and make one last flush of tomatoes before I rip the plants out of there. They're showing no signs of slowing down. They're actually speeding up and getting very girthy. So these tomatoes seem to love this growing environment. My bell peppers have now hit the roof, as you can see right here. That's probably about 5.5 feet off the ground, minus the 2-foot bed they're growing in. I've been getting bell peppers off of these things pretty good. I've actually gotten quite a few off of here. I'm actually never had this good of luck with bell peppers before. It's actually doing good growing in that compost. It's pretty much like worm castings and leaf mold and leftover kitchen scraps that I had worms in there eating the kitchen scraps obviously, and I had it in my 55-gallon drum I was rolling around. My fig tree, it actually hit the ceiling and started going out the vent, so I cut the top off the tree. So now when the temperature gets below 70 degrees, the vent closes automatically, and it's actually closing that leaf up in there. But this thing kind of like took off over the last month or two. I remember it was like here about 2 months ago, so it's actually taken off quite well. The basil that I planted, even though it got shaded out, it's kind of leaned over and took off too. It's about to hit the roof of the greenhouse. It actually is extremely flavorful and tastes great. My strawberries are all like, they greened up big time, getting this little bit of shade protection in here. Like the gravel doesn't get as hot. Now that the gravel is actually shaded out, the water temperature has been like hovering around 80, which is way better than what it was, even though it's been so hot. At the most it'll go up to like 85. My pH has still been climbing. So there's only two things it could be. It's either going to be some anaerobic. Alright, where was I at? Sorry about the cutout. My little 3-year-old son just got a bath, and he came running out of the house naked. So I didn't want to film that. Anyways, the pH slowly climbing in your system can be usually one of two things. It's going to be some of your gravel is either slowly raising the pH, which means you need to like change out the gravel, or you're going to have something that's creating an anaerobic environment. And the anaerobic environment will bring things actually to bring the pH up, whereas the aerobic environment actually brings it down. My pH keeps swinging back up to like 7.8, which optimal is 6.2 to 6.4 or so. So obviously it's not the optimal for the plants. So what I'm going to do is these buckets right here, since they stay flooded right about there, like 4 inches below the gravel surface. Hey, it looks like the duckweed's doing great in this shade down here, huh? Looks like it does, but it really does like still water. And then with stuff over there, it's been multiplying, but a lot less slower. Anyways, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to raise the Dutch buckets and raise them up to where the water level is like a real Dutch bucket, where like you'll have like a small puddle in the bottom, and it's just all free gravel through here. and then I won't have this issue. Like, I actually had I discovered at one point, if you notice the thyme plants are gone now, because I ripped them out of here trying to get some of the roots out. The roots had actually grown up into the pipe, and they were clogging it up, and they were restricting the water flow. So I'm actually keep coming back through here and just ripping off. Like when this root mass starts building up, I'll just rip it off. And I assume most of it was the thyme plants, but it actually, from my understanding, tomatoes actually get so many roots in aquaponics systems that they will actually cause anaerobic environments. So obviously I've got 2 tomato plants in each bucket, and the water level's way up high. So that might be the cause of my problem. So I'm letting them bush out right now. I'm going to let them flower out and make as many fruit as possible. And I'm just going to rip them out and link them off. And then I'm going to plant something. I'm going to raise the buckets and plant something else in there. I'll probably still do tomatoes in it next year once it gets raised back up again, obviously. My jalapeno plants have been loving this too. I mean, I've gotten like many handfuls of jalapenos off of this over the last month, and it's just covered in jalapenos now. I keep coming out here every few days and picking jalapenos. Let's see here, what else is a good update? Out of the 4 times I've topped off the system over the last month, about once a week, I've overflowed it like twice, which is not a good thing if you want to save your nutrients. So, I don't remember where I was at. Everything's doing pretty good. I keep overflowing the system and losing the nutrients and stuff. But, so what I'm going to do is basically this really long hose here, the water, by the time it comes out of there, flows really slow. Like, okay, so this right here, this container is almost completely halfway full right now. And I'll show you what the water flow is at the spigot. It would be about quite a bit higher water flow if the hose or if the thing was full. So that's pretty good little water flow there. By the time it restricts on this. So basically what I'm going to do is I just practiced. I just came over here. I took that long orange hose and disconnected it and put the green hose on it, which is like 1/3 the length or even 1/4 of the length. And the water flow is drastically better because after watering my trees in my yard and overflowing the system a few times, the water level was actually down to here this morning, which we finally are getting rain. We pretty much haven't had rain in a month. As you can see, it's very stormy today. Probably can't tell on the camera, but there's actually a hurricane coming this weekend, or what's the remnants of a hurricane. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm gonna try to see if I might end up taking these chives that I've been using. My wife hasn't even been touching these back ones, but like the garlic chives and the chives up here, she has been using quite a bit of in the cooking in the kitchen, and they just bounce back really quick, which is amazing. But they'll grow just fine in my yard, so I might actually divide these up and put another little sprig in there, little crown of chives and garlic chives, and then make that root ball not so thick. And then pretty soon I'll do the same thing to the tomato plants, and hopefully that'll raise the pH or lower the pH back to where I want it. Or I might just completely, once I take the tomatoes out, just as an experiment, I might just actually like take the piping and just run it straight to the drain and bypass those entirely for a little while and see if it's, that way I'll know if it's, I can narrow it down like through troubleshooting, half stepping it, like what in my system is causing this. And then if I do that, then that's the only buckets, the buckets right here are the only place in the system where I use that type of gravel. In my other 2 55-gallon drums, if you see my earlier videos, I used gray 3/4 inch gravel that you would use in your driveway. Everything passed the little vinegar test when I first got it, so hopefully it's the stuff in the bucket, not the stuff in here that's causing that. Or hopefully, really, it's the tomato plants. That'd be the easiest thing. I just won't plant 2 plants in there, and I'll raise the buckets next year, and that would hopefully get rid of that issue. My pH can get down because you get nutrient lockup if you don't have the pH, or if you have the pH too high. I'm also considering rearranging the system a little bit too. Like I might put the bell peppers out this way, and we'll figure that out later on down the road. You guys will see that coming up over the next winter. It's about time to start getting ready for my winter transplants, my fall transplants. Like I might start some lettuce and cabbage or whatever I want to grow during the winter time. At least get them started, and then when they're like 3 or 4 weeks old, I'll transplant them into here. Goldfish still seem happy. The snails have been doing a pretty good job of cleaning this out. Actually, a few days ago, when I came back from being at the beach for a week, like I noticed, came out here and the water flow out of this pipe wasn't so good. Oh, they thought I was feeding them, so they just started biting the surface, bubbles. They must be hungry. Have they got a feed? No, that's right, I just topped it off. It's just almost feeding time. So anyways, the water flow is drastically less. So I took this pipe out of here, and the actual air stone was completely covered in fish poo and whatnot. And actually, some of the snails I put in here had somehow gotten into the pipe, crawled down in there, and were munching on that. So they were actually in the process of cleaning off my stone for me, or what they could reach, anyways. So I took the snails back out of there. I might actually throw some in the other, the upper barrel up there. So that's something you have to do with your air stones every once in a while if you're going to have them in here. You got to take them out and clean them. And last few things I have was, I guess obviously I can't grow fig trees in here. My greenhouse isn't big enough, so I'm going to have to transplant that this fall. I might put it in a container. I had some of the parent plant that I got this cutting off of is in my front yard. And it's also, honestly, it only has 3 trunks on it right now that are about the same size as this one. But it's covered in figs. It has like 20 or 30 figs on it, on the 3 branches. And I just had the first 2 ripen up, and they are good. But I'm probably going to put it in a container. That way, if I ever do have to move next year, I can bring them with me and then make more clones. So this clone might make some more clones for me in the future. Yeah. So, and then the strawberries are also starting to throw out runners, so I keep finding them hanging over the edge of the barrels and stuff, and I'll just bring them around and stick them in the gravel somewhere. So hopefully there's a bed of strawberries developing underneath here. We'll see. And at least if they're not now, they will next year if I can get the pH to start coming down. As far as these right here go, when I left for the beach for the week, I came back and it actually, you know, instantly as soon as I came out here, I topped it off with water, took off the cover on this, and spun the pipe to break up the roots. And some large trunk of roots actually got in there and messed up the drain, the flood and drain portion of it. So I just had to fix that, which it was working till before I did that. So you see the flood and drain is still working great on everything. I haven't had any issues with that yet. Everything's been pretty good. Let's see here. What else was I going to talk about? And another thing, every time I do the pH test, and I also do the nitrite, nitrate, and ammonia test, this system has been cycling great. Like I never have any sign of ammonia. Like it's always registering 0. My nitrates are 0, which according to my plants, that obviously, like here's my jalapeno plant, and here's my bell pepper plant. I think my jalapeno plants can use some more nitrogen, or most of my plants can. Like some of the stuff's starting to get some, what is it called, powdery mildew. So you can notice the powder. But if you see, everything's not as green as it could be. It still looks pretty good though, especially since I opened up the wall. Everything greened up a lot more than it was. Plants are no longer suffering. They're just suffering for nutrients now, not from heat. So what I'm going to do is, I really want to get some fish in here that I can eat. So I'm going to use this as my my nursery barrel at some point. That's my plan. It's going to have all my young fish in it. And then that barrel up there is going to be my grow out tank. It's the bigger barrel. And I'll just have a bunch of young fish in here. I'll probably give away the goldfish at one point once I get my first batch of big fish. And then I want those big fish to be in the upper barrel, which is sending the nutrients to the actual flood and drain beds. And I want to build up, like when you see these systems and they've got the right amount of fish in it and everything, like right now I'm pretty much understocked severely. You'll be able to dig down into the gravel and you'll see just like worm poo castings and worms, and it'll be pretty cool in there. You'll be building your own soil and everything's growing in worm castings pretty much. So it'd be pretty good. And well, if pH actually starts getting lower, I can raise it. I can raise it with some lime and stuff, and actually just put the lime right here or wherever I want to put it, and it'll actually give you, like, you can buy giant bags of lime for cheap. It'll be a natural way, or you can use oyster shells or diatomaceous earth. There's a bunch of stuff like that that you can use to raise your pH and keep everything in tune. That'll actually act as both a fertilizer and a pH adjuster. Just gotta remember to do slow pH swings. That way you don't hurt your fish. Plants probably won't mind that much, but the fish will. When I came back from that 1 week at the beach also, these vines, my strongest vines that was growing out of that back bed back there, grew across, over, and up to here, and was hitting the roof. And there's actually 2 other that were right behind it. Right when I came back from the beach, I couldn't even walk in here. So it's pretty cool seeing everything grow that fast. I just carefully ripped them off the tomato plants and then tucked them back in over here, and they're starting to come out the other side now. Here's some of them. This one is actually turned back in and grew back over there again. Oh, nice. That was only a week ago, but it looks like the cutworms are getting to it. So that was my fastest growing vine right there. It grew from the other side of the bed over here all the way out there and out to here so far. So that's not too bad in what, a month and a half, 2 months worth of growth. A month and a half from the time I planted the seed, or 2 months since I planted the seeds. So that's another good thing, I guess. Everything's so perfectly watered here and grows as fast as it wants to. And in a few years when I build up the system, it's gonna be pretty good. Also, for the size of the amount of water, the size of fish tanks I have in here, I should be able to put another 2 of these beds in here at some point. Like, I may not put them in the greenhouse, but I may actually, during the summertime, summer months, put either a massive thing through here. It's just like a lettuce raft, and I'm thinking about building some vertical towers on the outside of the greenhouse too, and just having that other little 12-volt DC pump that uses 15 watts, running water from the sump tank up to here, and having the raft system overflow it back into the sump tank. So I can have like a split system within my aquaponics system if I want to. I may decide to do that just to expand my greenhouse use and my aquaponics system, but still use the same amount of fish and water.